Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Just Lights. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Smith and Wesson 8884 all blue light bar. Now, I've had this light in my collection for quite a while, actually. To kind of give you an idea of how long I've had this light, I actually found this thing on Craigslist. And not many people really use Craigslist much anymore, but at the time, it was kind of the go-to place to find stuff. That's actually where I found this. So I'll kind of give you an idea of how long I've had this thing. I found it in a town called Trenton, here in Florida. I met with the guy. I think I paid, 75 bucks for this thing, if I remember correctly. It wasn't a whole lot. It was actually a really good deal overall. The bar itself was actually in pretty good shape as far as all the inner workings and stuff like that. The lenses did need a lot of attention when I first got it, so I did do a whole bunch of wet sanding and polishing and buffing out of these lenses. I got these as clear as I could. You can still see a little bit of yellowing in there, but it's really not that bad. It could always be worse. I'm pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these lenses off. I'm going to show you guys the inner workings of these things, essentially what they have in there, how they're set up, and all that kind of stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll put the lenses back on it. We'll fire it up and show you what it looks like. So let's go ahead and get to it. Smith and Wesson started to produce emergency lightings in the early 70s. Their early lights were actually parts from other manufacturers that they rebranded into their own lights. Some of the other lights that they used the parts from was like the Federal Signal Twin Sonic chassis and domes, to the Diaz lights, to even the Yankee bars. In the late 70s to early 80s, Smith and Wesson started their own light bar line, starting with the 8000 series, and the most common being the 8884 and the 8880 bars. These lights were widely used throughout the 80s, 90s, even into the early 2000s. Mostly it all depended on what vehicles that they were mounted to. Alright, so we got the bar all opened up. I gave it a quick wipe down. Nothing too drastic. For the most part, the bar is actually in pretty good shape. It's pretty clean to begin with. But, just a little bit of dust, in there. Nothing too crazy. Now, these bars are pretty simple. Nothing too high-tech about them. They got 4 rotators, 2 alleys, and the 4 lights right here for the takedowns and the rear flashers. Then you got your siren. Some were special ordered, where the rotators and stuff like that might be in a slightly different arrangement. This is the most common arrangement that you see right here, but some did come in different ways, or some of them might have come with different cutouts and different filters in their lenses right here. But this is the most common that you would see. As far as the alleys, all they are is just the 4-inch sealed beam style bulbs. I couldn't find any numbers on there, but generally I believe they were like a 4416, maybe even a 4446. Not really sure. I couldn't really find any numbers to kind of tell me that. But that's generally the number that would have been on those. The ones in the middle, it's kind of funny because these are essentially headlights. So you saw these a lot on cars in the late 70s, early 80s, around that area where, like the Camaros, the Mustangs, the Cadillacs, the LTDs and stuff like that. They had those big rectangle headlights. That's really all those are, is just headlights that they put inside there with a heavy duty flasher. And then you just got your 4 basic rotators. Now, if you've never had one of these bars, and say you get your first one and you want to get in there and get it all cleaned up, just want to be cautious about one thing, and that's these rotators right here. See how thin that gear is? What happens is if you get in here and say you're cleaning on this and you snag this with a rag and pull on it too hard, or you're on the other side where the light bulb is and you're cleaning it to make it nice and clean, you shake this a little too much, you'll snap that gear off right there. And these things are almost impossible to find. A lot of times you almost have to find a parts bar to get yourself a rotator, because you don't see those things come up very often just by themselves. So if you ever get a hold of one of these bars, you want to get in there and clean them up. Just be very careful around those. Other than that, that's pretty much the whole inside of the light bar in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and get the lenses back on it and fire it up. So this bar holds a little bit of a sentimental value to me, and the reason why is growing up in the 80s and 90s, the Jupiter Police Department, this is what they had on their patrol cars at the time. And growing up in the 80s and 90s, we got in trouble a lot, and I'm not trying to say I was a rotten kid, but I wasn't the best kid, to be honest with you. And I kind of saw these lights a little more often than I would like to admit that I saw them. So this kind of holds a little bit of a place in my heart from my childhood. Okay, so we're put back together. Let's go ahead and make this thing work. Now, my wiring harness is in the back of this one, so I gotta kind of reach over it a little bit. So we're gonna start with our right alley. Okay, and then we're gonna go to our left alley. Rear flashers. our front takedowns, and the rotators. So here we go. This is my Smith and Wesson 8884 all blue light bar. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.